Hey YouTube, today I'm on the Batwing because in this episode we're taking a ride in this flying bat. Hi guys and welcome to Brick Talk TV. Terry here, and in today's episode we're going to be taking a look at the 1989 Batman film inspired Batwing model number 76161. It was released in October or November 2020, depending if you had early access as a VIP, and it will cost you around £179.99. The set consists of 2,363 pieces and is part of the 18 plus range. In the box you'll find 13 sets of bags, and it comes with 3 minifigures with the great Batman himself, the Joker, and a member of Joker's gang, Boombox Goon. So let's take a look now and we'll walk through the set in detail, looking at the figures and the build experience as we go. So for a change, let's take a look at the minifigures first and what you find in the box. As I mentioned already, you get the Joker, Batman and the Boombox Goon as part of this. And you'll start collecting the figures as you move through the build experience. First up you'll get Batman, then you'll get the Goon, and then you'll end up with Joker at the end. So it's a similar kind of experience as you find on the Batmobile. First thing to say about the Batman is a great level of detail. I was really impressed with the cape. This was the model I built first out of the Batman range, so I hadn't built the Batmobile by the time I built this one. And I was really impressed with the rubberized cape and the hood, and it really just sort of makes the minifigure pop. So I was really excited to open that one and build that one to start with. Then you move through to the Boombox Goon here, and he's got a nice boombox, which is traditional. It's nice to see an unusual figure. I did like the Vicky Vale figure in the Batmobile as well, just something different. And this was a nice touch here. There may be some arguments, it may be a different Goon, maybe the head of the gang who used to have a hat on, who I can't remember the name of, might have been a better choice, but I actually quite like this Goon here, so he's quite cool. And then the final one is actually the Joker himself. So here he's dressed up as he was in the film when he's going to kill somebody with his pen, and he's looking quite sinister. I remember when they actually released this set and they showed the pictures, at first glance I actually thought this was the Penguin because of his attire, as in the sort of traditional old Batman kind of style of a top hat and a suit. I didn't realise it was the Joker until a couple of looks at the pictures afterwards. It actually made sense for it not to be the Joker because the Joker wasn't in the film with the Batwing in originally. So actually I'd quite like maybe in the future for them to think about some other models, so maybe they'll do that. And then you build this stand. It's the same stand that you built in the Batmobile experience as well. So it's the same level of detail and the same construction technique used. And this is again same as the Batmobile. It's the last bag basically is constructing this stand. So then you can place your minifigures in position. And then at the back of the rear of it, there's 2 studs ready for each minifig to stand on, which I've not stood them on here. And that's the minifigures here. Great level of detail on both the torso and on the legs. The Joker's got the legs painted there with these trousers, dressed quite smartly. He's also got the notion of tails, so he's got long tails on his jacket. He's wearing like a top hat and suit, which is also added with some material that you plug into the legs. There's level of detail with the belt, utility belt around Batman as well, and you've got the emblem on the rubberized cape. And then the Goon's got a nice level on his torso. The trousers are just plain black ones, and of course the boombox. So yeah, those were great figures to add to the collection, and they'll be on display in front of the Batwing. So let's just flip over now and let's actually take a look at the Batwing itself. So the first thing you'll notice about this model is the size. It's actually much bigger than I thought it was going to be, and it does command quite a presence in any display that you'll put it in the future. It sits on this stand, which you build as part of the penultimate bag, which comes with the nameplate as you'd expect to tell you exactly the details of the Batwing itself. It's quite a sturdy stand. It just rests on top, so there's no clips in place to keep it there. You just can lift it off and lift it on. Of course you can wall mount this as well, and I've not really investigated into that, and that may be something I do in the future, so watch this space if I get around to it. At the time of recording I've not built the Batmobile, but I have it ready to start building next. In terms of the build experience, despite the large number of black pieces, it didn't cause any frustration or confusion when building, and I didn't get confused with the different parts. You start building it with a Technic frame to start you off in the build, and you continue to build the foundations of the Batwing before adding the layers of detail you see here. Then you move through to building the details of the cockpit And the model does come with several stickers. These are used mainly in the cockpit to outline the controls of the Batwing itself. So there's not too many to tackle. Of course, the internal cockpit is a large scale, so it's not minifigure scale by any means, so you can't be expected to put your figures in this. But there are some added features of adjustable flaps on the side here, which you can move up and down if you wish. And you can position these fin pieces here. One of the interesting things I found was actually the curved edge of the wing. This piece is quite an interesting build. You use lots of hinges, and it's actually put in place with some elastic bands with some key pieces positioned here and here, and also clipped in the main part on some studs. And it just wraps around the rest to give you this nice edge of curve where the wings meet, which I found quite an interesting technique. During the build, I did enjoy seeing the shape come to form and adding the detail of the Batwing. It's clever how the designer actually formed the famous Batwing shape that you see here and gave it its edge. It was a lot bigger than I'd expected it to be, which probably isn't a bad thing. I quite like the size of it. It's quite commanding, and I imagine it's going to be complementary to the size of the Batmobile once I get around to building that. It's not going to be good for many of you that haven't got much space to display your sets in, because as I said, it's going to take quite a lot of space. But I suppose the wall mounting does give you a glimmer of hope that you could actually get round to mounting this on the wall and to save some display space using that. So actually, I might get round to doing that at some point as well. So watch this space and see if I actually get round to mounting it. If any of you have actually got round to mounting it, do stick some tips in the description below in the comments, because it'd be interesting to see how you've gone about mounting it as well. In terms of other things you can do, this main cockpit here just rests on it so you can lift it out. And inside there you can see the controls, the seat, and then some of the details. I did actually end up getting one of the stickers upside down, but I forgave myself because I didn't really want to peel it up and re-stick it. But it's just a control panel, so it's not too bad. I can live with that. So then you just rest that back on top there, just like that. There aren't any things that pop out on this one as you get on the Batwing. On the Batmobile. You've got the guns on display here, which are a nice, effective build, but simple in their construction. And then actually inside the cockpit at the back here, you do have a little holdall here where there's the little red items inside there as well. So you can lift this little lid up here, and you can store those things in there. And that's pretty much the detail of it. The texture of it is quite nice. It kind of gives you the illusion of some black metal being used here, with the panels used that are smooth with some stud edging. And then you've got some grill pieces here at the back to give some ideas of some venting going off. The technique used to build the tail is quite nice. It's kind of a staggered incline here to give you the pointy end, which is a nice technique. And the way that you just sort of construct some of the curves on the edges in the front piece are really interesting techniques. So it kind of is quite it's quite interesting to see it unfold and see how the designer's gone about crafting this piece to get the shapes. So overall, I think this model is quite interesting in terms of getting the shape. There's not much to it in terms of the build, I suppose, in terms of some of the techniques. It's just the interest of the shape for me, and how they did the curves and managed to get the shape there. It's obviously not too detailed because you've just got large space of wings which you build up over time, so you start flat and just make it a bit thicker. The cockpit adds some level of detail, but there's not too much in there, to be honest, apart from the seat and a couple of the stickers and the levers. And it doesn't do much apart from like the Batmobile in terms of features and some interactions you can do. This just lifts off normally. There's no guns that pop out, no missiles that fire off or anything like that. So for me, it was a sort of an average build experience. So I'm hoping for better things with the Batmobile. And if I've done the Batmobile, I'll stick a card up here so you can actually see my comparison of the two builds, and you can watch the video on that one. So I'm hoping for better things with the Batmobile. This is a nice to have, but I wouldn't go rushing out to buy this again if I had the chance. That's just my view. It'll be interesting to see what your build experience was, if you're avid fans of Batman out there and you felt this was more of a must-have thing and you really enjoyed it. But for me, it was kind of a mediocre kind of build. I enjoyed it, but I wouldn't rush out to buy it again and rebuild it. So I hope you found this review useful, even if it wasn't particularly glowing, apart from some of the experience and techniques you might find in here. If you did find it useful, do hit that like button and smash the subscribe button with the bell notification turned on to be notified of future reviews we do, particularly the Batmobile, which will be coming out shortly. And until next time, stay safe, and I'll see you then. Bye.